days and some sleepless nights. But when I look around and I think things over, all of my good days outweigh my bad days. I don't know. The clouds hang low. I can hardly see the road. I ask the question, Lord. Lord, why so much pain? But He knows what's best for me. Although my weary eyes, they can't see, so I'll just say, thank you, Lord. I won't complain. But He is so good to me. He's been good to me. More than this world all you could ever be. He's been so good. But He knows what's best for me. Although my weary eyes, they can't see, so I'll just say, thank you, Lord. I won't complain. But He is so good to me. He's been good to me. More than this world all you could ever be. He's been so good. And try all my children. My midnight went today. So I just say thank you, Lord. I've been out, thank you, Lord. I've been talked about, thank you, Lord. I've been misunderstood, but thank you, Lord. I've had some.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you can hear me in the comments. Thank you all for tuning in to this. It's almost like an emergency live, but I happen to not be in class today. So Well, I'm not on campus, so I was able to go live today. Thank you, Coach Perry. So the search committee's not playing no games, okay? They are taking this search committee seriously, and they have scheduled a live, or it's a meeting, but because of sunshine laws, it has to be streamed live. So basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna tap in and see, you know, what is it that they're looking for. I'm pretty sure they're going to talk about some of the things that they're looking for in a head coach, which is very important. It's very important to acknowledge some things that are important for coaching. So one of those is, of course, experience recruiting in Florida. I know that that was one of the most important parts of who they want to be their next head coach. Continuity is another one that they'll be looking for. That's why they were pushing for either Billy Roll or Coach Colsey becoming that head coach. Now they have a head coach possibly coming from other places because of this search committee that's about to take place, or the coaching firm that they agreed upon, the board of trustees and AD Tiffany Don Sykes. So what we're going to do is we're just going to listen in for some key things, key elements that they're looking forward to. And this is pretty quick because they just did the motion yesterday. And now today, they are having this meeting. So it'll be important to see how they go about this meeting. One of the concerns of the AD was that by including the search committee in this type of search, that it'll then be disseminated through the media as far as coaching names. So we'll just have to see. And if you will just bear with me one moment, I will pull that up. It's definitely different than the Texas Southern Board of Trustees and their coaching search. So I'm just going to play some music, and then as soon as it begins, I will turn it on.
between flights here. And again, I just want to first of all thank Dr. Robinson as well as AD Sykes for their trust in me to lead this committee. I want to first of all recognize the committee. Selvin Cobb, the president of the Rattler Boosters, Eddie Jackson, president of the Rattler 220 Club, Curtis Johnson, president of National Alumni Association, Lisa LeBou, the chair of the Family Foundation Board of Directors, Kyla Ligon, student government association representative, Dr. Ebenezer Ariaco, the faculty athletic representative, and Curtis Taylor, president of Rattler F Club. Did we get the student athlete on yet, Tiffany?
I've reached out to a handful of them on a leadership council, but I haven't gotten a response yet. So I'll continue.
A great addition, great addition. Well, look, I'm so excited, Dr. Robinson, to chair this committee. I tell you, this is really, really an important committee that we have assembled here today. We have a lot of work to do in a very short timeline to do it. One of the things that we want to come out of this particular committee is with, again, some of the top candidates for this position for our actually head coach for the university, for the football team. And so one of the things that I want to say is that I want to go ahead and start setting up some meetings. We have an important part to play with regards to really input into the attributes of what we think a great head coach is going to look like for our team. And before we leave off today, I want to at least get some input from our AD to talk about some of the attributes. But one of the things I think that we need to engage in and really, really quickly is what we feel as a community are some of the attributes that we want to see in our next head coach. I also want to set up a very aggressive timeline to really get information back to Dr. Robinson as well as our AD to make a decision. As we know, signing day is February 7th. We also have a board meeting in order to approve a contract. But more importantly, we need to come up with, again, a slate of names in order for them to choose from. I am looking for, and again, this will be open to discussion after we have our meeting tomorrow, is to work over the weekend if this committee can really help me to move this forward. I know we're looking at a search firm to help us with this particular endeavor. We will probably be meeting with the search firm once we get them on board. But also having some preliminary discussions with them as we move forward. By Sunday this week, I'm looking to forward Dr. Robinson and AD Sykes to these 5 top candidates that we see as a committee to really be considered seriously for our head coach position. Now, in between that, I want to get input from the committee in regards to what that entails and how we get there. I have some ideas, but I want to at least get some input from you all. And we'll talk about that tomorrow for a meeting that we'll set up for tomorrow. But again, I just want to give you some expectations with regards to where we're headed. And I also want to make sure that I engage your constituents. And so I want to be invited to the meeting and really talk more about what we're looking for and how we move forward. So I want this to be an inclusive process. And I also want to be a very thorough process as we find the next head coach for Florida A&M University. And so, Dr. Robinson, I see Tiffany's back. And you may want to talk about some attributes, Tiffany.
Yeah, but before she begins, Donald, I want to thank you for delivering my charge to the committee. You did it extremely well. But I do want to reiterate a couple of points you made, and I think you all understand the time constraints the time frame that we really want to work in here. We're not constrained, but I think it's in our advantage to get this done and bring forth the best candidates as soon as we possibly can. I think we all understand that, and so my charge to you is to do just that. And you may hear a number and may develop a number of attributes that are non-negotiable. I just have a couple of those, 3, that I want to put on the table as well. And the first is that, any candidates you bring forward, they have a high degree of integrity, right, and a record to test to that. And of course, it's obvious too that those candidates should have a passion and a record of student success on the field and in the classroom. I think it's particularly important too because we've all seen how this can go south, that individuals have an understanding of and appreciation for the richness of HBCU athletics, football in particular in this case, but also that they have a willingness to go that extra mile to create success, even when we face the ongoing challenges we have with resources that may be a little bit different than institutions like us and institutions different from us, but a person who will wake up every day recognizing the opportunity that they have to change the lives of these young men and everyone else who are watching them and paying attention to them as the head coach of football at Florida A&M University. You all know that this will be the talk of the town, so to speak. This person who we choose, these names that you present, will get a lot of scrutiny. And so that's why it's important for us, and I know you will do this anyway, to put the best people forward so we can move on and then bring in that person to be able to continue on this really outstanding track record of success that Simmons established during his tenure here at Florida A&M University. And so that's basically my charge to you, and to get this all done as soon as possible. And now I will yield back to Donald and AD Sykes for additional remarks.
Thank you, President Robinson. I think at this point, we're turning it over to the Office of General Counsel. So I think Attorney Wallace and Attorney Coates may be on the call.
They are.
This is Vice President Wallace. Ms. Coates, Attorney Coates will do the public records law and sunshine overview and briefing for this committee and for this body of individuals.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Kentavia Coates, Associate General Counsel here at Florida A&M University. And so today I'll be reviewing the Sunshine Law as well as public records. For starters, Sunshine Law, that authority does come from Article 1, Section 24 of the Florida Constitution, Board of Governors Regulation 1.001, Subsection 2, Subsection I, Chapters 286 and Section 1001.72 of the Florida Statutes. The Sunshine Law essentially is the right of access to governmental proceedings at both the state and local levels. The law is equally applicable to elected and appointed boards or committees and has been applied to any gathering of 2 or more members of the same committee to discuss any matter which will foreseeably come before that board or that committee for action. And so committees that are created or established by public agencies are subject to the Sunshine Law, even though the findings of that committee may just be a recommendation and they're not binding to the agency, they're still subject to the law. And so the main reason why you are here is because your search committee, you've been appointed by the university president or his designee to screen the applications for our next head coach. 3 of the basic requirements we do want you all to keep in mind throughout this search. 1, meetings of the boards or the commissions must be open to the public. All meetings must be noticed in time. Reasonable notice must be set for such meetings, as well as minutes of those meetings must be taken, promptly recorded, and open to public for inspections. Meetings that are subject to Sunshine Law usually generate public records, which we'll get into that towards the end. As a committee member, you may not use electronic, that's email, text messages, social media, telephones, or any other form of communication to conduct any type of private discussion about the business of this committee. Now, as a committee member, you may send a one-way communication to each other as long as the communication is kept as a public record. However, there should be no response to that communication because, again, that then turns into a two-way communication, and then we're now in violation of the Sunshine Law. We do recommend that one-way communication not involve any issues that are part or can be part of the decision-making process of that committee. And also is recommended for it to be distributed by the university staff so that communication can be further preserved as a public record while ensuring that any responses that may come to that communication are made only at a public meeting. While a committee or a board member is not prohibited from discussing the committee or the board business with staff or any other person that's not on the committee, those individuals, if you do choose to have those type of communications, those individuals cannot be used as a liaison to communicate information between the board members. For example, a board member or a committee member cannot ask a staff to poll the other committee members' ideas or their views on a certain topic that's being brought in front of this committee. Committee members are not prohibited from using written ballots to cast a vote as long as the votes are made openly during a public meeting. The name of the person who voted and his or her selection are written on the ballot, as well as those ballots must be maintained and made available for public inspection in accordance with the Public Records Act. Now, as a committee, you may adopt reasonable rules and policies to ensure an orderly conduct of your meetings. The Sunshine Law does allow non-disruptive videotaping, so please take note of that, as well as any photography at any public meetings if that becomes a concern. Public comment. So the opportunity to be heard is subject to the rules or policies adopted by the committee as provided in section 286.0114 subsection 4 of the Florida statutes. Public comment must be permitted prior to any final decision of the committee member. So as you're drafting any policies or procedures or rules that you guys want to have during your meetings, as long as before a final decision is made, you allow public comment, you will be in compliance with the Sunshine Law. Committee members should be held in buildings that are open to the public. Right now, what's common is Zoom, so that will suffice. The idea is just as long as it's enough room for everyone to attend who wants to attend these meetings. Also, when it comes to posting your notices of the meetings must include language regarding the availability of reasonable accommodations through the Office of Equal Opportunity Programs. Dr. Palm, as the chair, usually if someone's appointed to go and post those notices of the meetings, I have a template if anyone needs help with that language or what should be listed and sent over. Another thing is that I know it's common for FAMU info to be used as the notice of meetings, but it's common for us to advise all search committees that doesn't technically suffice, that we do ask for it to be placed on the university's calendar because any individuals outside of the FAMU community, they don't have access to FAMU info. Now, as far as penalties, any committee member who knowingly violates the Sunshine Law is guilty of a misdemeanor of the second degree, punishable up to 60 days in jail or up to a $500 fine or both. An unintentional violation may be prosecuted as a non-criminal infraction, resulting in a civil penalty up to $500. And also, we always ask the search committee members to keep in mind that these violations may subject the university to an assessment of attorney fees as well. Any questions regarding the Sunshine Law? Okay. And so just moving on with public records, that authority comes from Article 1, Section 24 of the Florida Constitution, Board of Governors Regulation 1.001, subsection 2, subsection I, Chapter 119, and Section 1001.72 of the Florida statutes. Now, the Florida statutes defines public records to include all documents, papers, letters, maps, books, tapes, photos, sound recordings, data processing software, or other materials, regardless of the physical form or characteristics, or the means of its transmission. Even scraps of sheets of paper and sticky notes can also be considered as public records. The Florida Supreme Court would interpret this definition to encompass all materials made or received by any member of the committee in connection with official business, which are used to perpetuate, communicate, or formalize knowledge. All such materials, regardless of whether they are in final form, are open for public for inspection unless the legislator has exempted them from disclosure. Also keep in mind that there is no unfinished business exemption to public inspection. So the purpose of the document prepared is in connection with the official business of the committee, and is to perpetuate, communicate, or formalize knowledge. It is a public record. Work that goes for preliminary drafts, working drafts, any internal memos, all of those are still counted as public records. Now, as far as penalties for public records, a person who has been denied the right to inspect and or copy public records under the Public Records Act may bring a civil action against the university to enforce the terms of Chapter 119 of the Florida statutes. In addition to judicial remedies, Section 119.10, subsection 1, subsection B of the Florida statutes provides that a public officer who knowingly violates the provision of Section 119.07, subsection 1, is subject to suspension and removal or impeachment and is guilty of a misdemeanor of the first degree, which is punishable up to a year in jail or $1,000 fine or both. Now, only the legislator can create exemptions to the Sunshine Law and public records. Although there are some exemptions to the open meetings and open records law, those exemptions are narrowly construed. And so overall, we just ask if there's any questions that may come about where you think something may be exempt, we just ask that you consult with the Office of General Counsel regarding those exemptions, and we'll be happy to advise. And so that completes my presentation. Did anyone have any questions regarding public records or Sunshine Law?
Yes, I do have a question. This is Lisa LaBoo. Can you clarify what's considered reasonable notice for, I know it's 7 days typically for a regular meeting, but can you also just kind of clarify on an emergency meeting?
So there isn't an actual time frame for the meetings. We kind of always stick to 7 days as reasonable. Depending on, so when you mention emergency meetings, one, it's more so of what equates to an emergency to the search committee. And then we would have to analyze that to see what would be sufficient notice. I know usually if I get something in at the office, we usually at least say 72 hours. But that's like where it's an actual emergency. And so in those cases, we kind of talk through the committee, try to see what the issue is and see if it actually equates to an emergency. And then we'll ask for a 72-hour notice.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
No, thank you. Thank you for that. I believe Eddie Jackson had a question, and then I'll chime in following. Thank you.
Yes, two very brief questions. One, is it possible for the committee to get copies of what you just presented?
Yes, there is an actual cheat sheet that we can provide. I was going to mention that towards the end because I know that there is a possible additional committee member. So that's something that I can provide to Dr. Palm so that all of the members will have a copy for their review.
Okay, number two, is there anything that would prevent the university from naming a new coach within 24 hours?
Well, so the idea is that that is a final decision that was made by the search committee. So the idea would be that that took place at a public meeting when you voted.
But I do want to clarify, Attorney Coates, that the search committee isn't selecting the final coach for FAMU. They are going to identify a group of qualified candidates who could then be forwarded to 80 sites and myself for consideration.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Robinson, if I may add, if I'm understanding Mr. Jackson's question, the final authority to hire rests with you, and I'm not sure if he's saying that this committee needs to know that within a 24-hour window or not. So,
No, I'm wondering if once the committee has been formed, as we are now, can the committee recommend that the head coach be named, let's say today?
that's not the purview of the committee to make that recommendation. The purview of the committee is to, from my understanding, to assist or to have input into some of, have to have input or to have a discussion with the president and our 80 sites as to what they're looking for in a candidate. But until those candidates' applications have been forwarded to the hiring firm, we don't know whether any candidates or potential candidates would meet the qualifications. So I'm not sure that 24-hour question is appropriate at this time. But ultimately, the hiring decision does rest with the president.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Curtis Taylor here. I think because of the time, I was thinking that today, that this committee that has been formed can make a recommendation to you and the AD, and then y'all make a decision from there. Because I just think that we've lost our recruiting coach. And I heard yesterday we've lost our defensive coordinator. We can't afford any more time to lose any more assistant coaches. So my thinking was today that at minimum, when we had an opportunity to speak, that we could make a recommendation of who we thought, and y'all could take that and go forward. I just don't see where we really have the time or the resources for a search firm because we're losing coaches and students every day.
Dr. Robinson, if I may, I believe that there was a motion that was properly put forward to the board and passed that there would be a search firm engaged in order to facilitate this process, and that this search committee, this body here, was part of that process, but that was still not going to negate having a search firm. Now, I could be misunderstanding that motion that was properly put before the board and passed.
Right. And
President Taylor, I do want to tell you how much I appreciate your concern for expediting the matter. I have the same concern. But in answer to your question, no, I don't think we could get there today. However, as Dr. Palm just talked about, we can get there, within the next few days. I don't think, at least I wasn't, as people were already having comments prior to us gathering today, prepare, to hear those. And remember, what we are asking for is not just one candidate, but we want to have multiple candidates, because right now I think it's in the best interest of the university, because what I'm hearing, and really I don't have a preferred person on the list or person to keep off the list at this moment, but I do think it's better for all parties, because I'm hearing, in fact, I probably have at least a half dozen or more people who have been nominated by folks to me or on their own behalf. So I think having a pool would provide us the latitude going from there. and then ultimately picking the best person.
And I think President Robinson, though, you have the power, you're in a position to say that due to the time, to the criticalness of this, we need to take action. And I wasn't really referring to one person. Whenever opportunity, I guess when we get down to discussion, I was going to make a recommendation at least two. So I'll go ahead and wait.
Okay, but I agree, and as I said, once again, I do appreciate that trying to expedite this. That is a priority for all of us. And Dr. Palm, on that point, has the next item on the agenda as the timeline itself. But I don't want to get to that prior to hearing from Nico regarding if they had anything else beyond the open meetings and public record laws to share with the committee, because there are some other issues. But if you're done with that, Dr. Waters, we can move on to the actual agenda item next, which is the timeline.
Dr. Robinson, I believe that Attorney Coates is complete with her overview of the Sunshine and Public Records Law.
Thank you. And I'm going to, by the way, because I'm not on the committee, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Palm. And
See how long it drives.
say that again. Donald, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm going to turn it back over to him. Just want to emphasize again, I just want to express my appreciation for all of you and your willingness to serve. And I do agree, Mr. Taylor, that if we can get those recommendations sooner than later with supporting documentation, because we need readers and all of that, I think that would be in all of our best interests, right? Because I'm just as concerned about coaches and athletes leaving as you are, if not more. So, all right. So with that, unless somebody else had a question for me, I was going to log off and let y'all get to work and sort of map out the plan for moving forward. Okay.
So can everybody hear me?
Yes.
So Curtis as well as Mr. Cobb, again, thank you very much. I share the same sentiment as you all do. We need to get this moving. The time frame I'm looking at is looking at having 5 names by Sunday go to Dr. Robinson and AD Sykes, and we need to get moving. I'm gonna call a meeting tomorrow, and I need to check with General Counsel also as far as calling that meeting after hearing some of the Sunshine Law stuff. So what I would tell you is that I'm going to meet with now we have to secure the actual search firm. What I would tell you is those individuals that you identified as being top candidates, we will make sure that we go ahead and start having them get their information together to go ahead and work through this process. And again, looking at a very, very aggressive timeline to get things moving. I see a hand, President Johnson.
Yeah. So, Dr. Palm, thank you for that, because I wanted to springboard into that. I think that you certainly have a commitment here for me to do the work between now and Saturday. Also, you mentioned that your comments that you'd like to maybe get involved with stakeholders. I would invite you to be a part of my board meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. If you can accommodate that, we will have you bring remarks at the top of our meeting.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Talk about this process. The third thing is that during yesterday's call, I heard from AD Sykes that there were a number of people who expressed an interest in the job. Maybe she collected those resumes, etc. I think, if I'm not out of line, I think what would help me as a committee member is that we have a process and we've formalized it, so at least we put out on the street, per se, lack of a better term, that we're looking for head coach and we're accepting resumes, etc., and that that information gets funneled to us so that we can sift through that. I was left with the impression that she had looked at some resumes and people had expressed interest, but I want to make sure that that's actually factual and people have expressed and we've documented they want the job. And I don't know how we quite do that, but that's a question I would have. And once we know that and we have their resume and they're in the particular pile saying, hey, I've raised my hand, I want to apply for this opportunity, we should then, in my opinion, get those resumes to quickly look at to match up to some of the attributes I've heard. I think we also need to hear from the committee members on some of the attributes, and you asked for that, about what we may see from what we're hearing from our stakeholders as an attribute as a head coach. So I'll stop right there, but I think that there's some items that I need to have addressed by the athletic director, and maybe some more that one-way communication coming out to this committee as to what she has collected thus far as resumes, and can that be shared?
In fact, before I get off, can I just chime in on that? First of all, neither I nor the AD is on the committee, so we're not constrained in the way that you are in terms of talking to each other. We can talk to you independently, and of course, President Johnson, you know how that works. It's not a member of the committee itself, so we will be more than happy to do that. And I think sharing those names with you of individuals who have applied or expressed interest would be a good idea to do. And I have no doubt that has happened, because I've seen some of that myself, to be quite honest. And so we can make that happen. But I think in this case, as opposed to just one person that decides, I believe you still know. Yes, roster, if we see you there, we would send it to Dr. Palm, who would then get it to the whole committee.
I do want to offer some clarification there. I do have a roster of people who have sent, who are actual candidates, some who are agents who are reached out on their behalf. There were some that were sent forward that were considered out of that pool. However, some of them reached out to me saying that they wanted to be confidential because they are in good situations where they are. So I think since we have reset this process, they would need to re-express interest to be considered, considering that this is now an open process that's going to be conducted in the sunshine. So ideally, we will move forward with a search firm. What typically happens then, the search firm will open up a repository for resumes and answer questions about what are your salary requirements? Are you willing to relocate, et cetera? And members of the committee will gain access to that repository for those who have expressed interest to this new reset process.
VP Sykes.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you and Dr. Palm. Two questions. One, why 5 finalists? Wouldn't it be more efficient to have 3 finalists? And secondly, did I understand the National Alumni President said that they would be receiving applications and going through to see how I misunderstood him on that.
Let me clarify that we will have a portal set up for all applications to come through, and that the folks on the committee will have access to those applications. And so those are the applications we start discussing. Now, I think in our meeting tomorrow, Eddie, we can talk about, do we want to submit 5 or 3 names? I think that, again, I wanted to, give a general overview of what we're looking to do. And then I think those are the conversations I want to engage you all in with regards to your constituents also. And so I think we can get there. And I think that we can get there with this committee here sooner than we think by Sunday. Yes.
I do also want to mention, Kelvin Dean, who's on our leadership council for the football team, has joined. I sent him my link, so it looks like I'm in here twice, but there's a picture of a football player who I affectionately refer to as Woo. He was the Celebration Bowl offensive MVP, but he has agreed to serve as a member of the committee, and he is on the call. So I do want to acknowledge him being here. And to also just address Mr. Jackson, I think that moving forward, more than 3 candidates is appropriate because sometimes people withdraw from the process due to salary, due to family, due to a number of things, and you really limit yourself when you have a pool that slim. So I I would encourage 5, but we'll work at the will of this committee.
And I would think it's the opposite, that we probably should be looking at 3. And because I don't think the people we're talking about, I don't think they're going to drop out because of salary or anything like that. What I was getting ready to say, if it's in order, Dr. Palms, is to be able to recommend 2 individuals. These are individuals that's already in-house. Is it appropriate now for me to recommend at least 2 people that we look at?
Thank you for the input. We can do those discussions tomorrow. Again, I think this isn't the time, just giving an overview. And I think we need the collective body. Again, I do appreciate the urgency as well as the talent that we're looking at. And so I think we'll have some really robust conversations tomorrow about that. And so let's go ahead and hold that out till tomorrow, and then we'll definitely come back and address that.
And so are we saying that we're going to submit to the president by Sunday X names for them to review by Sunday?
That is my plan. And so I'm going to need you all's help to figure out how we make that happen, working with the search firm.
Okay, so how do the search firm come in? When do they come in?
Right. So we're waiting to bring them on board. They will be very, very, very important with regard to setting up the portal for the application, helping us screen applications, and then also helping facilitate the work that we're going to do to really come up with those 5 to 3 names or what have you.
Well, I would encourage all of you, as Mr. Teller is saying, has done, for you, those of you who have recommendations already, let's make sure they're standing there ready to get into the system. We would really, really appreciate that.
Dr. Palm, this is Linda. It's been brought to my attention that we need to go ahead and decide on the next meeting date and time. If it's going to be tomorrow, time is of the essence. So
Okay.
We need to get that meeting noticed.
All right. Can we get, I guess, committee members, how does 11 o'clock look for you all tomorrow morning?
I have a 12:30 early board meeting tomorrow, and I have to leave at 11:30, so 11 o'clock will work for me tomorrow.
Okay. How about 8 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
How about 9?
9 sounds good to me.
9 sounds good to me then.
11, I have an appointment already. I have
All right, 9 o'clock.
back-to-back appointments.
Dr. Palm,
Yes.
I don't know if 8 o'clock is going to give us that's less than 24 hours notice. So we're going to need at least 24-hour notice, or something short thereof. But 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning may not do for the notice requirements.
10 o'clock still works for me.
What time?
10 o'clock works.
How about
Is that good?
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
same time?
Yeah. I'm not available after
3 o'clock
2.
works.
Huh? What time?
3 o'clock works for me.
3 o'clock will work.
I tell you what, let's shoot for 5 o'clock. 2 o'clock, from 2 to 4, I'll be tied up.
Okay, from 5 to 6.
5 to 6.
That's fine with me.
That's fine.
Okay. And can we go ahead and set the one for Friday up as well?
That would be preferable, because then we'll definitely know that we have the appropriate notice.
What's your pleasure for Friday?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock Friday as well?
Yes, 5 to 6.
How about earlier Friday? I mean,
Yeah,
five-
let's do it early Friday.
How about
Yeah.
What about 2 o'clock Friday?
2 o'clock Friday? 2 o'clock Friday.
3 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
Is lunchtime, 12 o'clock, is that an option?
Do we have a foundation board finance committee meeting scheduled for Friday? I thought I had one on my calendar, but I don't.
It's been postponed.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Thank you.
So 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock Friday is fine with me.
12 noon.
12.
12 o'clock, good.
12 noon.
It's fine, okay?
Okay. All right. And then we'll, on tomorrow we'll schedule the one for Saturday and Sunday. And then my plan is to be finished on Sunday.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank y'all very much. I am still on, and I'm glad y'all able to work those times out. And I really appreciate how quickly y'all came to consensus around that. And I expect y'all will do the same when it comes to consensus around the 3 to 5 name, whatever the number wind up being. I am absolutely looking forward to that. I do think, however, I would love for you all to take a few minutes at the very least to express your thoughts about the desired attributes of the candidates. I know AD Sykes has some. I have expressed to you my non-negotiable ones, and so it'll be, I think, important for us as we're looking at, for you as you're looking at these candidates, to screen them through those lenses as well. So, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are.
Sure. Are we ready?
Yes.
Before we move on, this is Attorney Wallace. Dr. Palms, I'm not trying to put any words into your mouth, but is this going to be an emergency meeting, considering the status of the notice?
That's the only time you can have one, right? This soon?
You have to tell me what type of meeting you're requiring.
Emergency meeting.
Okay. Attorney Coates, does that meet or comes under the umbrella? I would venture that it does. Okay. We just need to know for notice purposes, sir.
Thank you.
And I would hope, Ms. Barsmiles, if you're on, that you, as you are very experienced in doing that, get the notices out for the upcoming meeting based upon the two that the committee has just agreed to.
Right, we're in the midst of doing it right now.
Thank you.
And so my homework for the committee tonight is really going back to your constituents, if you can, to talk about those attributes. And I'm going to ask AD Sykes if you want to share some of the attributes as well, or even get it to me and I can send it out to the committee.
Right. Okay. So I'll share what I have previously evaluated on for this particular role. Also keeping in mind that we do have a job description that is on file with the university. So there are requirements for the position, such as having a bachelor's degree. But beyond that, the criteria that I have evaluated thus far has been as follows. Proven ability to recruit athletic talent at an academically rigorous institution. As I'm sure many of you know, the average enrolled GPA of our freshman class this year was a 4.03. We have a very limited number of special talent admits. So being able to recruit a student athlete who is athletically high performing, in addition to being able to be in this rigorous academic environment, is one of the criteria I look for. Also, proven success as a coach with the ability to sustain competitive excellence. A working knowledge of NCAA compliance. Comprehensive knowledge of NCAA APR. Collegiate head coaching experience. Possess effective communication skills, for example, with student athletes, alumni, and coworkers. Fundraising experience. Budget management experience. A comprehensive understanding of the current landscape of college football, including but not limited to transfer portal windows, and name, image, and likeness. An appreciation and understanding of HBCU culture and the candidate's potential for longevity in the role.
Thank you, AD Sykes. It'll be interesting to hear from some of the committee members regarding any attributes you didn't hear or that you want to amplify.
Yeah.
This is what you just heard.
Yes. President Robinson, we strongly feel that we should hire within. We said this over and over. While Coach Simmons was our head football coach, of course, he didn't do it alone. And so we have some great assistant coaches. They work very hard. They are committed. And I think we should do everything in our power to give them opportunity. And the urgency is that we lost our recruiting coach, which was one of the best HBCU recruiting coaches. Like I said earlier, the only good thing about it, he's going up to prime time. Then we found out yesterday that we've lost our defensive coordinator that also was one of the best HBCU. And so we really felt that if we was able to keep the assistant coaches in place, we have an opportunity to win the SWAC again and the Celebration Bowl again. And so I think it's urgent that we move forward as swiftly as possible. And our only recommendation is that, hey, these guys were there, they made it happen, and so we should give them the top opportunity to make it happen again. They work with our student athletes. They're very high on them. They want us to pick from within. And so that's my only position is that, hey, we have it there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think I see Evan Dean. Is that you raising your hands?
Yes, sir, it's me.
Okay. Nice to see you.
I just want to say thank y'all for. Yes, sir. Nice to hear you too. I just want to say thank y'all for allowing me, to be a part of the committee and trusting my voice on this whole thing. And I just want to say that y'all doing a great job. Hopefully we can get this all done soon so that when the new signees and stuff ask who's the coach, you feel me, I can fill them in and get them all the information. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say.
Thank you. As if this is my meeting, I see Curtis Johnson's hand raised. Taking advantage of the challenge in the airport. I know you've got a lot of background noise to deal with. So, President Johnson.
Thank you, sir. One of the things, 80 Sykes, if you wouldn't mind sharing those attributes, I was trying to write as fast as I could. I think I may have missed one or two. That would help me crystallize on that, if you wouldn't mind, please. I think what we did here that is important is certainly one of understanding the HBCU culture. It stands out paramount to me. I think a winning record of success proven at a high level, either in college or just below that in high school, also is a factor. I think relatability to the current athlete. I think that I'm looking for a coach that can relate to our current student athletes. I think that's paramount, that person be able to talk to that vision and attributes of what it is to coach the young people today. I think that's paramount. I think also what is paramount is that the coach's ability and demonstrated to be able to relate to the support organizations. You said something I think was fundraising, and to me that's less of a challenge for me. It's more of can he relate and communicate the vision and be a part of that. But I felt as though when you said that a lot of that onus would fall on the coach of fundraising, and I think that he needs to be able to work in conjunction with support organizations to help with that. And I just want some further clarity as we vet that out. Other than that, I think I was comfortable hearing some of those other attributes, but understanding this HBCU culture and coaching to young people today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, President Johnson. I think again, this is where that input we'll take all that in as well tomorrow. And I think that's where I see the engagement taking place as well as the voices being heard with regards to these attributes. And so I really, really am enjoying the conversation because I can see we're going to get there, and we're going to get there sooner than we think. And so I'm going to have to go catch my next flight.
Hand is up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think he's spoken. He spoke already.
Okay.
Kelvin, unless you have something you wanted to add, you could take your hand down. Chair LeBou's hand is raised.
Yes. My question is more so towards the financial aspects of, and so many of the board members had several questions regarding, again, the financials and the fundraising and kind of the whole gamut of the financial status of athletics. So it would be helpful if we could get answers to those questions to help us. And also, I think a meeting to get the big picture of, we know there are needs in several different areas, but instead of piecemealing it here and there, that's another reason, we really postponed the meeting as well, as so that we can get all of this information, look at what the big picture is to be able to make a really informed decision, and not one where it's last minute and, we're rushing to have a meeting, because I don't think that's a good strategy to use when you're making a huge financial decision. We really need the information. And I would also, as I had requested prior to be more proactive, is to have a meeting to be able to look at that situation and again get that information and then discuss what is reasonable, because ideally, because of history, it would be ideal if we could maybe strategically see what can we do in the long term, in terms of the financial challenges that have been experienced in athletics, so that we as a university will not have that a recurring situation.
Thank you, and I will send over some questions that I need to get back to you. But I also just want to point out that I believe as it stands, I only have about $200,000 in my budget for a coach. So until the foundation approves any additional support for coaches' compensation, that is all we would have to be able to offer a coach as far as compensation. I did a compensation study of head coaches of HBCUs at Division I, with the highest paid coach being Eddie George at Tennessee State University at $434. Hugh Jackson came in second last year at $407. The average salary for HBCU coaches is right at $297,000. So with that additional commitment from the foundation, it puts us just a few $1,000s above what the average salary is for Division I head coach.
So when you say additional, you mean the $100,000 that they had previously approved for Coach Simmons' contract?
Correct. The additional $100,000, and for those of the committee that don't know, I have $200,000 in my budget. The foundation had previously agreed to cover the additional $1,000 in compensation plus the fringe through an agreement with, well, prior to me getting here, but to support the previous head coach's salary. But until that agreement is voted on and agreed on, we don't have that as part of the package for negotiating. So $200,000 right now would put us just above, I want to say, Mississippi Valley and right in the ballpark of Arkansas Pamphlet.
Well, I think actually there needs to be a lot of clarification, because we had that that discussion and that vote during the holidays, but then my understanding is that that was for Coach Simmons. So that's no longer, feasible because he's not here. And so we're kind of starting all over again. So it's pretty much starting from scratch. And it still goes back to, we need to get the information to make an informed decision. And the other question too is as far as fundraising, what's the fundraising status of athletics? What has been fundraised to support the program?
So currently, I think I mentioned before that we have separated from our media rights agreement with our previous partner, Learfield. We have been in interviews with them to bring them to the table. I think they will increase our ability to get into not just individual fundraising spaces, but corporate spaces to support us financially. I shared with, I believe, President Robinson and COO Palm that when we look at some of the high-performing athletics departments in the country, the alumni contributions are 20 to 30% of the overall budget for athletics. So it is not uncommon to receive this type of support through the alumni associations, the development offices, the foundations offices, to the tunes of 20 and 30% of the overall operating budget, where ours is right around $13 million.
Okay, because
Okay, if I could interject but for a minute, because I do want to be clear, making sure everybody heard what we just heard, right? And that is, there's probably nobody out there that this group will be satisfied with who would come in at the current $200,000 salary, right? I mean, I say that, I could be wrong, right? In terms of the permanent position, I know that's what we're working with for the interim, but for the permanent position, I think it's going to be appropriate for any negotiations to take place to have some idea what the ballpark is, right? It might not be another 100,000. It might not be 150,000. It's going to probably be more than 200,000 to land a kind of quality candidate that you all would expect, who would have any sense of longevity for being, you know. I think as much as I love Mississippi Valley and Arkansas Pine Bluff, I think FAMU's in a different place in terms of our athletic program right now. And part of that is because, first of all, we broke the mold, 6 years or so ago with Coach Simmons himself. Now, the way that we moved forward then is that we had this sort of a partnership agreement with the NAA, the boosters, the Rally F Club, right, who were going to kick in certain parts of that. And some of you did, some didn't. But at this point, if we're going to try to make this happen right away, there has to be a reliable source of funding so that the AD, when she's negotiating with candidates, can know, what she has to work with, not that any particular person would be getting all of whatever that is. And that's sort of the dilemma right now, and that's the challenge. You don't have anything to negotiate with $200,000. And I hope you all understand that. It's not a criticism, it's just a reality.
I just have a follow-up comment. I do have one follow-up comment in terms of the 20 to 30% and the NAA and other organizations. But I've been doing some research also, and my understanding that typically, and I mean very successful athletic programs, the foundation is not I wouldn't say supporter, but funder of the organization. It's usually a much more sustainable and somewhat independent, but again, depending on the university. And so, I understand we're in a different situation right now, and a lot is needed. But I think we still need to figure out how are we going to eventually pivot from how it's being done, and understanding that whenever there's a crisis, that there's always going to the foundation and using those resources to be able to fund. We really, as a university, have to develop a sustainable model that's going to be beneficial to the university, the students, and the program, the success of the program. And that's what I would really like to see, in addition to, the immediate now of what we're doing, but really some strategic long-term planning that's going to be beneficial.
Thank you, Chair LeBou. I will tell you this year, we streamed games online for free. We have put the games that we're able to stream behind a paywall to generate revenue there. At all of our games, we made thousands of dollars on 50-50 raffles to also be creative in generating revenue. We have added inventory for sale, for lack of a better term, on things that people can purchase to advertise their respective businesses. We recently rolled out naming rights opportunities. As you know, we went on the road and did a strike tour as far west as Houston, as far east as Jacksonville. I'm committed to still doing that. But I know I cannot do this alone, right? I need support from a number of stakeholders. There is a way that we can enterprise this to generate more funds, but we have been I just got a design back for a fan ring for sale. Again, we're trying to do things to chip away at what our deficit is and being creative at raising funds. But we right now just needed support. I think everyone is familiar that this department for the last few years received $2.5 million almost of CARES Act funding to sustain their budget that's no longer available to the athletics department. That is a significant gap to continue to operate even at the same way we operated previously, when the SWAC has changed even how we compete in some sports. So for example, softball no longer plays a double on one day, a single on the next, and it's 2 days of competition. It's 3 days, and that's something that was driven by our conference. So expenses have gone up, and we have a reduction in funds that we've received in excess of $2 million. So we just all around need some additional support.
So can I I'm going to have to interrupt. My flight's about to leave. It's at the gate. I think, I guess members for the committee, we can probably have some further discussion tomorrow with regards to us moving forward. I think that we have a very aggressive, again, timeline that we have to move forward with. And again, if we can maybe gather some of those attributes, at least tomorrow that'll start the discussion, and hopefully we will have the search firm engaged with us by that time as well. So we're going to work very hard between now and 5 o'clock tomorrow to get things moving. But Dr. Robinson, I'm going to have to run. So I don't know if somebody else can go ahead and dismiss the meeting for me.
Thanks, Donald. I appreciate it. I understand your circumstances. Travel safely.
Thank you very much.
We want to make sure you get back here. But I didn't have anything else I wanted to add unless there were additional questions. I think we've gone a little bit longer than we had anticipated, and we've already imposed upon your time as it is. And so unless there are some burning questions, we can go ahead and call this meeting, because you already have 2 meeting dates and times scheduled to get into the depths of this process already. But at the same time, I do want to thank you all for agreeing to serve in this capacity, and also for your recognition of the need that we have to expedite this process. Hearing none, thank you all very much. Thank you for serving on this committee. You all have a great day.
Well, woo-wee. What y'all think in the chat? What do you think? Not FAMU only offering $200,000 to their coaches. What in the heck is going on, y'all? $200,000. Basically, the direct support organization said, I ain't got it. If you don't want to pick who we want, I ain't got the funds. That's what it looked like to me. Like, because how? How does that even happen? How does that even happen? Let me know what y'all think in the chat. It says TSU pays their coach $434,000 for Eddie George. Eddie George is getting paid. They bragging real different. She's over here saying that she only has $200,000 to offer. So that's red flag number 1, because who is getting ready to go to the highest of 7 hills and deal with that mess for only $200,000? So what I got from that is that the direct support organizations are not going to dedicate any extra money to the coaching salary unless they actually pick somebody that they want. And what I get from AD Sykes is We don't need your money. We just gonna offer only 200,000. Them folks about to Bethune-Cookman about to whoop. Let me go ahead and play Hell Wildcats because that's what's gonna be in that Florida Classic. Y'all don't stand a chance. How are you guys going to compete? So if you guys only have 200,000 to offer, you might as well have got Gibbs. You might as well. You're not willing to come up with no money. We're gonna go ahead and play Hell Wildcats. You was laughing at Bethune-Cookman because they only won what 2 games last year. Y'all don't stand a chance now. And then Dr. Robinson said, "Oh no, don't compare us to Valley and UAPB." Well, y'all withholding the money. Wow. That's terrible, y'all. That is terrible. Look. Oh, God. I don't want to be petty, but I'm going to be a little bit petty today, y'all. Okay? I'm not going to act like yesterday. I'm not going to do that. But I have what it's going to look like when this was going to happen when AD Sykes. This is what's going to happen when AD Sykes tells the person that she's interviewing that the salary is $200K. This what's going to be. The salary is $200K.
Mike, you have a year left on your contract. Mike, you have a year left on your contract.
$200K for 3 years. Like, who is gonna sit there? $200,000. Who gonna sit there? Ain't who. But she basically said, I don't care what y'all talking about. All I got is $200K, and I'll hire somebody with that $200K so y'all can either donate or not. So that's why she probably was going after a D2 football coach, because for a D2 football coach, $200K is not bad. How much do Quinn Gray get a year? Somebody. For $200K, I'm guessing, 200K ain't bad when you're at the D2 level. Now, let's keep it a buck. Somebody offer you $200K, you're going to leave out. You're not going to. That's an upgrade. That is a definite upgrade. So that is probably why the next head coach of Florida A&M, unless they come to some sort of truce or something like that, the next head coach is definitely going to be from D2 because they don't mind $200K. I do like the fact that they are getting to business, though. It's good to see that FAMU is getting to business. But I will say this, I don't know why, but I felt like there was a lot of shade being thrown in that meeting. So it's going Jesus fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's not going to work at FAMU. You're not going to be able to become a championship team offering up $200,000. That's not going to work. So we need to fix it. Fix it, Jesus, the Canton Spirituals. I love the Canton Spirituals.
Hand right there. On my way home. On my way home. On my way home. Yeah. Come on. On my way home. On my way home. On my way home. Come on, Lord. Please, Lord. Yeah. Listen, I have to cry sometimes. How many of y'all have to cry? I have to cry sometimes. Sometimes singing with tears in my eyes. But I'm waiting on you. Please, Lord. I got something else I want to listen. Friends get few sometimes. Somebody know what I'm talking about. Friends get few sometimes. My friends get few sometimes. But I'm counting on you. Please, Lord. Do that for me. Listen, one more thing. I get mistreated sometimes. I get mistreated sometimes. I get mistreated sometimes. Yes, I do. But I'm counting on you. Please, Lord. Amen. You know what I want to do? Fix it, Jesus.
Fix it.
Fix it, Jesus. Fix it, Jesus. Y'all don't hear me. Fix it, Jesus. Fix my heart. Fix my heart. Fix my mind. Do it for me right now. I know you're able. You got all power in the palm of your hand. Oh, God, fix it. Let me ask you something here. Anybody need fixing? Anybody need?
Y'all, FAMU needs fixing. Friends get fused sometimes. Basically, them funds from those direct support organizations, they get fused sometimes. When you try to appoint a head coach that they did not necessarily want, your friends and the funds get fused sometimes. Now, as far as the bonuses go, I'm going to hold that with a grain of salt. Here's a couple of reasons why. Number one reason why is this. Most of the time, those types of bonuses, they have like net 60, net 90 days for remitting payment. So especially for the Celebration Bowl, that funding comes from the MEAC SWAC ESPN. That doesn't come from FAMU. FAMU would have to wait until they receive those funds from that particular organization in order to get the funds. So I'm not even going to blame her for that. They've never won in the SWAC. They've never won a SWAC championship. They never won a Celebration Bowl. So those checks, they have net days that they have, and it's probably in that contract a certain amount of days to receive that payment. I feel like Willie exiting just basically all hell broke loose, but all the hell was probably already there. We're just now seeing it and it's being peeled back and exposed, meaning some of these issues and problems didn't start with the AD Sykes. They're just getting exposed. And one reason why I'm covering it is because it is interesting to see how a coaching search works. So we're getting an inside preview. Most of the time, these things are way less messy and more private. And if they are messy, we would never know about it because it would be behind closed doors. Now we're in a situation where it's out in the open. So we're just going to, I do commend them for immediately calling this meeting for the search committee, but I feel like they scheduled a meeting to schedule another meeting because the only thing that they got done today was say what type of attributes that they wanted in a coach. And I think we already pretty much knew those. So let's go ahead and give some words of encouragement to FAMU and that search committee. Last thing that I wanted to say was this. They're not getting ready to give AD Sykes no money if she's not taking the candidates that they have in mind seriously. So basically, the FAMU direct support organizations feel as though if you're not going to have us at the table to seriously be able to help influence this decision, we're not giving our money. The $100,000 on top of the $200,000 that was promised to, or basically signed in Willie Simmons' contract, that came directly from the 220 Club, the FAMU National Alumni Association. So on this meeting, I think they revealed basically like they kept asking her, well, how are you going to fundraise? How are you going to fundraise? So in other words, if you don't get the coach that we want, how are you going to get some money then? And she said she's going to do raffle tickets. Raffle tickets and fish plates. Lord, we might really have to do a wigs for Willie, or not a wigs for Willie, a wigs for let me see. I don't know. Wigs, fish plates, they might have to actually do it. I feel like there was a lot of shade being thrown in that group, basically saying y'all talk too much. And if you disseminate certain information, wigs for winning. There we go. I like that. All right, y'all. I'm going to have to curl my hair on the next live so that we can do a wigs for winning, because the money The alums are not coming up off of that money unless AD Sykes chooses the coach that she wants. And she just basically said, I don't have to choose the coach that you want. I'll just go ahead with the $200,000. So world's finest chocolate. Bangs for fangs. I love that idea. Bangs for fangs. We're going to do something. We need to help her. Double good popcorn. They could make a killing. You know what? I was told that, and I'm not really in all that extra stuff, but I was told that there are some entities out there that could supplement the coach's salary. Fam, you're going to have to do something and do something quick. In the words of Mr. Ford, implosion. The program is imploding. Bake sale or fish plate. Because AD Sykes has got to, I thought this was a kumbaya for the AD Sykes and the direct support organizations, and it's not. I thought they were going to, bear down the hatchet. Can somebody tell me who this man is? He said, I thought we could just go ahead and decide who we want right now. Let's just go ahead and make a motion. And he kept saying it after they said, no, that's not what we're doing right now. That's not what we're doing right now. She said, we can just make a motion and choose the coach right now. And you know what? That's probably what they should have done, because all of the direct support organizations were on there. And she would have said, okay, well, are you guys willing to pledge to make that $200,000 per year commitment? Because I don't know why Larry Robinson said we need to be around the $400,000. Where are you going to get $200,000 a year from? Not the FAMU National Alumni Association. Mr. Walker says that AD Sykes broke it down how other sports will be affected by operating outside budget costs. So basically, they're already outside of their budget. Like, what are we here for? So in the end, they scheduled a meeting for another meeting. I don't want to prolong this live any longer. Depending on what time that particular live is, we'll be back here tomorrow tuning in. Y'all have a good evening. Don't forget the FAMU faithful that they brag different. Wait, let me play Willie. Willie's gone. I need to play that. They said you're not getting none of that money. A refund is due unto me. Let me see if I can find that. You done messed me up to take this business. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto me. Don't feel like I just been abused out here today. God is abused like this. You can't do the same like this. Boys, I don't even know if I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm doing refund. Cause I'm doing one of me. How you gonna fix it? You done messed me up to take this business. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto
messed me up. The devil's busy. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto me. Don't feel like I just been abused down here today. God ain't playing like this. You can't do the saints like this. Boy, I don't even know what's wrong with sitting out here telling the police, I'm gonna stay out here telling the police, I'm doing a refund. Because I'm doing one of me. How you gonna fix it? You done messed me up. The devil's busy. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto me. Don't feel like I just been abused down here today.